Another powerful man faces a legal reckoning over alleged sexual abuse and a new example of the influence of documentaries off screen. R&B singer R. Kelly's arrest on Friday on 10 sexual abuse charges came just weeks after the series Surviving R. Kelly debuted on Lifetime. 3 of the alleged victims are minors. Kelly denies the charges. Dream Hampton is an executive producer of Surviving R. Kelly, and CBS News contributor Jodi Kantor is one of the New York Times journalists whose reporting on Harvey Weinstein led to the Me Too movement. Dream and Jodi, good morning. Good to have both of you here. Dream, did you ever expect R. Kelly to face charges?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I hoped for a kind of social death. I remember when I first talked to the other producers about what an ideal outcome would be, and I was thinking about Blackfish, that film that made people turn away from an amusement park.
Yeah.
And I thought that people kind of having all of the facts laid out would mean that they wouldn't be able to so vociferously kind of support him and talk about his innocence and or have their heads in the sand about who he was. But no, I quite honestly didn't think we'd be here.
And so, Jodi, what do you think that tells us about the power of documentaries to really affect change in the midst of this Me Too movement?
Well, if you look at this particular documentary that Dream made, to me the power is the completeness of the work. It's an in-depth psychological profile. The number of victims interviewed is really stunning. There's a lot of context about the movie industry. And so I think whether it's in a newspaper article or a documentary or a podcast, what matters is the strength of the reporting, the victims' voices, whether in an era where the definition of truth is very challenged, whether this comes across as something very authentic and believable.
And we also see the Me Too movement now transcend from Hollywood to the music industry as well. Ryan Adams recently, a few weeks ago, and now R. Kelly. Do you think this is just the tip of the iceberg? Are we going to see more stories come out of the music industry as a whole?
It hasn't stopped generally. It's been how many months since we broke the Weinstein story? And I think that what's powering this whole thing is new information, more people coming forward. Accountability leads to more accountability because women are more willing to come forward when they believe that people are listening and that something may happen. And actually, Weinstein and R. Kelly are in very parallel positions now, right? Because there are criminal charges against both of them. We're awaiting the legal outcome on both of those cases. And I think that these are going to be the 2 criminal trials that people really look to for months to come. And the reckoning will continue in the courtroom.
I think part of the thing, Jodi, that you exposed with Weinstein, too, is the enablers. Dream, you as well, in this documentary, talking about those who were the bodyguards that tracked down these young girls for them. What did you learn about the system that essentially supports and enables this behavior?
Well, the ecosystem partly explains why he can't make bail. I mean, he has gone broke holding women in his studio. Like, this lifestyle that he has, moving women from state to state, girls really from state to state where their parents can't find them, he's gone broke doing this. He can't post a $100,000 bail, having made more than $200 million in his career. I mean, a 52-year-old R&B singer is often a sad song, like financially. This, you know, there are plenty of examples of artists that go broke in their 50s, but this is very particular to him settling lawsuits, to him, you know, having to manage 6 and 7 girls at a time.
Dream, tell me what you think has changed about those who came forward, who spoke for this documentary, but then who might speak going forward, because there were a lot who didn't want to appear on camera because they were worried about what would happen to them.
Right, we had to interview so many women who cooperated off camera, but didn't want to come before the cameras. They knew they'd be doxxed, disbelieved, dragged on Twitter. And that happened to all of the survivors who came forward and came on camera. So we had a lot of women that we talked to, because he's been doing this for almost 30 years, who would corroborate details from the other women, but wouldn't come on camera themselves. And then when Kim Foxx, she in Illinois, the DA in Illinois, and then also a prosecutor in Atlanta, asked for more women to come forward, that happens. The floodgates kind of open, and both of those prosecutors are getting those calls.
Jodi, I think people may not realize just how much time it takes reporting and also giving assurance to these women that their stories will be told fairly and getting that body of evidence. What's changed since you started reporting? Are there more people feeling somewhat comfortable in talking? Are we reaching an inflection point?
I think we're seeing the problem in a way that we never have before, and you can't solve a problem that you can't see. One of the many things that these two cases, R. Kelly and Weinstein, have in common is the use of secret settlements and NDAs to silence women. I want to throw a moral question out there that we have not solved as a society. Are we okay with confidential settlements for allegations of sexual abuse? If your sister experienced something really bad at work and then she was offered $300,000 to never speak with anybody again about it, should she take the money? On the one hand, it might be her only form of recompense, but on the other hand, she would have to swear to never tell her own story, to never talk about something very important that happened to her, and she might be enabling an abuser by doing that. And we have not had a discussion about that in society and decided how we feel about it.
And what's unfortunate about that is the burden should not be on the woman when it comes to these kinds of decisions.
Well, what we see with settlements is that individually they can often make sense to a woman. They can feel like a best option. Collectively, they've been a big problem.
Yeah. All right. Well, to be continued. Thank you so much for joining us, Dream Hampton and Jodi Kantor.
Thank you.